Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Rise Up. I'm your host VitaLetum, and this is going to be talking about mass laddering. I think that mass laddering has its effects, its positives, and its negatives, and whoops, I think I was alt-tabbed. Yeah, I was. Mass laddering, I think, it can make you better, but it's not making you better in the sense where you're making better decisions. It's refining builds. It's getting to the point where you get to it's getting to the point where you can make your builds better. It's muscle memory. It's going to help you do things without thinking. The problem with mass laddering is you stop making decisions at a certain point because it becomes so retuned for you that you stop making those subtle in-game decisions like microing your army appropriately, scanning at certain times because you expect certain things, so on and so forth. So if you're trying to learn a new hotkey or make a new hotkey, changing that around, or if you're changing your build and your stylistic play, mass laddering is really good and it will help you. And yeah, if you do need to do it if you want to get better, because you're constantly refining your build, you're constantly changing things, small little things, and after so many times of playing the same build, you're going to need to mass ladder to get it out of your system. And the thing is always remember though that the first couple hours of you playing is you learning how to make better decisions. The next few hours is going to start becoming that mass laddering, working on your build. But that's what I want to say on mass laddering. And another thing with mass laddering is it's exhausting. You're going to get tired. Playing tired sucks. But it also has its own effect too. If you play tired and you start playing well tired, imagine when you're awake, when you're more alert. It's kind of weird because it kind of gives you euphoria. You kind of get a high playing when you're wide awake, when you're used to playing tired, and so you can notice that yourself. You're really jittery. Your APM goes spiking way up, and you get this adrenaline rush, and it's a completely different feeling. It can be pretty hard to do. Anyways, in this game right now, I'm going for a 1-Rax Command Center. I actually didn't know my opponent was Zerg, so I'm kind of happy he didn't go for like a really fast rush or anything like that. So I had to wall off pretty quickly. Maybe I could have built my command center at the front and did a command wall off, but opted not to do that. And this is a game that kind of really puts out decision making, and that's kind of one of the main focuses on this. Also, another thing is that there are 3 major playing styles, and deciding on what playing style that your opponent have or you have will help you improve and also help you decide what you're going to do in game. And I think there's more styles that I'm talking about, but as a stylistic player, everyone has their own style. Everyone obtains to something that they routinely do and they like doing a lot. You have the players that you have shoot, I actually forgot what I called them all. Anyways, you have the players that I can explain them though. You have the players that basically do routine builds, and they do the same build. Basically, they're streamlining. It's a streamlining play where they have the one build, kind of like Destiny back in the day, where he did Zergling Infestors no matter what, and use his control basically to stop his opponent. Depended on his unit control before he did anything else. It didn't matter what his opponent was doing. Also, and he just kind of varied it up with those units depending on what they did. And another player is someone that has a lot of builds. They don't necessarily do good on ladder, but they do better in tournaments than other people do because they have varying amount of builds. They like to be experimental, so none of their builds are extremely well refined, but they're mediocre, and their unit control is also mediocre. They're never going to reach their top tier of play until they get over that and start focusing their builds a little bit more. And then you have something called hybrid players. players, which is the majority of pros. They have very refined builds, and they depend on their unit control. And then you have players. This is the top tier of pros that I've noticed, is that then you have the players that have linear builds. So basically, one very solid build that changes based on what they see. So let's say they do a 1 racks expand, they scout something, then they go 3 racks, and then they expand again, and then to 5 racks. Well, let's say they do 1 racks expand again, and they scout something, and then they go 3 racks expand, and then 2 factories instead. That's the type of thing that you see more pro players do, but they have it at a very fine point where they know what they can and can't do at certain points in the game, and sometimes they only make units that they need to make to stay alive before going back to their original plan, because that's another philosophy that I think a lot of players misconceptualize, is that being a reactive player is fun because it means that you're reacting to what your opponent is doing, you're making the appropriate units to survive. But that allows your opponent to dictate the game, and that makes you feel more uncomfortable typically and more defensive typically over a player that isn't that type. So what you want, what I would do is instead of being that type of a player, what you want to start doing is try to force yourself to do something that pros do, even though I'm not saying copy a build from them. What I'm saying is pick a solid build and do it a whole bunch of times and learn variants of it. Based on what you scout and what you think will go well with it, depending on what you scout and who you're playing against. And a lot of times that's going to help. Like right now I'm going for a timing push, and I should be finishing up. Sim just finished and my +1 just finished. I'm working on my armor, getting my additional upgrades. Now I haven't really scouted anything. This is kind of just blind play at the moment, just a build that I'm really trying on.
Add-on complete.
Excuse me. And then I'll be working towards medevacs. So my plan for this game is I really want to focus on mass drops. So I'm going in here now. I see banelings, I'm going to be splitting. I should have really scanned there. That's something that I've been lacking on lately, which I was doing really well for a little while. It seems like when I start focusing on something new, I don't keep the old things that I've worked on, and that's something that I have to force myself to start doing. Once I improve on something, keep doing it, and then add something new to it, and don't forget about the old thing that I worked on. And that's something that a lot of players need to do as well. And I'm also noticing his creep spread. So this is when my build choice is appropriate. If you don't have the economy or the basis to sacrifice scans for mules, that's when I think drops are a necessity, because it forces your units not to be on the ground where fast units are. It also forces your opponent to stay in base so you can get more expansions. And another thing I'm in a big favor of is I love upgrades. Just get them. And that's in any video game. If there's upgrades, get them. They're typically worth it. Right now I'm just keep on moving ahead. And I like the bio style against Zerg. I've been favoring it more and more lately, and that's not to say that tanks aren't needed, and I think they're definitely needed in the late game, but I don't think they're needed until the Zerg has 4 bases in particular, or has hive tech. Once they have hive tech, then you kind of need it in Vikings especially. So I'm going right now, scouting around, trying to see what if he has any additional bases, what I need to start doing. I need to start thinking about a 3rd base. In fact, I should have thought about that about 3 minutes ago, but I was fine with that. So there goes my first drop, and I'm going to be sending my 2nd drop, and I have 2 more drops going to his 3rd. And this is all happening at once. So I will be killing a lot of workers, and I see this one right here, so I'm going to kill that 4th base pretty quickly. And I'm going to be sniping both of those queens because less larva injects. And I do see that he is going on a hive now. So this is definitely a time that I need to think about going tanks. I don't believe I do, which is something that I definitely should have done. With just gonna keep on making my units, and my queen, the queens are gonna snipe my medevac. I do take out his base over there, and that makes me pretty happy. And I'm just gonna do a push out now. I have enough money to expand. I need to remind myself to expand at opportune moments. And also, if you get into a new league, please just play. I've known way too many people, oh wow, I got Diamond, or oh wow, I got Masters. They'll play 3 games, notice how much more difficult it is, and they stop playing. Or they're too nervous to play, and they haven't even tried their new league, simply because, again, they think that they're not ready. I'm going to start playing customs, so I'm going to play a lot of customs. And then they finally play 1 or 2 games and they realize how hard it is. Like, yep, I'm not playing anymore. They don't play for 2 or 3 seasons, they get demoted to Diamond or whatever league that they were before, and they leave. They leave Starcraft almost altogether. It typically happens is when you finally start feeling like you get good, you get in that new league, and then there's still better people than you. It's disheartening to them, and don't let that happen to you. Just, if you really enjoy the game, keep playing it. No reason not to. If it's really that hard and that frustrating for you, demote yourself on purpose. You always have to remember, and I can't emphasize this enough, that whatever video game you play, be happy with and enjoy it. And that also is said with anything you do in life. Just be happy with it. Alright, well, that's another episode of Rise Up, and I'll talk to you guys next time.